So after a year of waiting, speculation, leaks, rumors, and a couple months after those first kind of weird-looking teasers, Marvel has finally released a full trailer for their upcoming big film, Avengers Doomsday. And despite the trailer obviously trying to trigger excitement, hype, and weirdly enough nostalgia, I left feeling an overwhelming amount of nothing.
They died facing enemies and threats that scared me far less than this one.
Okay, so after the release of those teasers a few months back, we now have an official look at Doomsday, the new big Avengers film that's kind of finishing off and encapsulating the new phase of the MCU post-Infinity Saga. And with the release of this trailer, all my worry about this film and the MCU as a whole reached a breaking point, as it was essentially confirmed that my worries were justified, and Marvel had not learned their lessons from recent years. Or maybe they learned the wrong ones. The trailer felt stuffed with characters that were from random projects, some of which we haven't seen anything of in 5+ years, others from franchises that have been ended more times than they have good films, and the rest just feeling random in their presence, others missing entirely. There's obvious blue screen in the use of the volume, and a very flat overall feel to the cinematography, blocking, and tone of the trailer, all of which failed to build any hype in me after the last few years of Marvel and the way they've handled things post-Endgame. The trailer seemed to rely more on nostalgia than it did actual character arcs coming to a close, and when you compare the trailer to the Infinity War trailer, it does feel night and day, and doesn't give off any of the same level of hype that the old MCU films did.
Great adventurer, Star Fox.
So Marvel. They've been going through a bit of a weird phase since 2019. After Endgame and the Infinity Saga wrapped up, Marvel had the opportunity to go essentially anywhere they wanted. The mainline story was finished, and the door was open for the next era to make even better films with new characters and even returning ones, giving us new stories, new arcs, and a new central focus to the MCU. However, what we ended up getting was a jumbled mess of characters, storylines, and tones, all clashing with each other, each suffering from sloppy writing, inconsistent world building and tone, non-existent character arcs that go nowhere and are forgotten about almost immediately, and everything simply being used to push that good old Disney Plus subscription. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's been all bad, because that's just not true. There have been a few projects in the recent phase of the MCU that are good, and many that are liked by audiences. Some I fail to understand the appeal of, but nonetheless, they were liked. I mean, Guardians 3 was actually really good, and I guess Fantastic Four had a cool world and aesthetic, but for me, that's really all there was. A lot of the more recent MCU, and particularly the shows that were on Disney Plus, just weren't of much interest to me. Majority of it was built around cameos, random characters that all suffered from pretty weak writing, and everything felt like it was just setting up the ever-confusing and ever-expanding multiverse.
And we are almost bankrupt. So, time for a cheaper approach. Allow me to introduce the multiverse.
The multiverse. What more can be said about the multiverse than simply overdone?
He's out of line, but he's right.
In recent years, Hollywood has had a bit of an obsession with the concept of the multiverse, an easy gimmick that allows films to ignore writing and logic altogether in way of fan service and needless, soulless cameos. And Marvel has had the itch bad, using the multiverse in multiple of their films in a messy way to excuse the use of cameos, shoving old characters from the early 2000s Marvel films in a hope that they can trigger nostalgia in their audience, in what feels like a cheap way to just bait the audience. And after seeing the Doomsday trailer, it's clear that Marvel is doing it yet again, and that makes me really worried. I mean, we got the mainline Marvel heroes here, each of them feeling inconsistent, many of them missing. We have the Fox X-Men again for the fourth time, the Fantastic Four, which were from another dimension and have never met any of the other Marvel characters and aren't even from the universe, and Doctor Doom, played by RDJ of all people.
I am not some common criminal that can be distracted by your prattling. You are nothing to Doom, and your pathetic attempts to play mind games with me amount to exactly less than nothing. So please, stop embarrassing yourself.
So, when it was announced a year ago that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be playing Doom, I immediately lost interest. Not because he's a bad actor or anything, far from it.
And if the Russians know about it already from a spy, that
Los Alamos.
But because it was clear Marvel didn't have the confidence in their new film, nor the character of Doom. With the announcement and the way Doom's been teased and used as a way to hype Robert Downey Jr. more than the character, Marvel shows that they didn't feel that Doom was enough to generate hype and really center the entire phase of the new MCU on, which is a real shame. Dr. Doom is one of, if not the greatest comic book villain ever created. He's iconic to even those who know nothing about him, and is one of the coolest, most well-written and layered comic book villains out there, and one that I was beyond excited to see brought into the MCU, and hopefully done justice considering we haven't really gotten a good Doom up until this point. But I didn't want it done like this. If Marvel had actually cared to do Doom justice, they wouldn't have had him played by someone we already recognize as an iconic character in the MCU already, taking away all of the character's relevance and watering him down to just be about the casting, utilizing him to achieve the same effect Thanos had with none of the build-up. And Marvel had the chance to prove this wrong by maybe giving him some sort of build-up in other movies, like we did with Thanos and the Infinity Stones, or having him actually be in the trailer more, like the Comic-Con version. But Marvel didn't do that, and instead put out a trailer more focused on the forced cameos rather than the main villain and new central antagonist that's going to redefine the MCU as a whole, outside of Thor just talking and one moment of him stopping Stormbreaker. But it's pretty obvious why they didn't build Doom up, and that's because he was never the plan from the start.
How many did you call? All of us.
We can't talk about Doomsday without addressing Kang and what happened there. Unlike Marvel, I'm not pretending this never happened. So back in like 2019-ish, it was announced that the next Avengers movies were going to be Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, with Loki and Ant-Man setting up Kang as the new villain of the MCU, played by Jonathan Majors. Unfortunately, due to circumstances out of Marvel's control, that didn't happen. Marvel was left with a crisis. They just spent 2 projects building up Kang and had already announced him as the next Avengers movie villain.
This is almost the end.
But now the actor was not an option for them. Not to mention, Kang wasn't getting the hype that they wanted. That might be because he was in a terrible Ant-Man movie, but, you know, whatever. They could either recast and continue to try to make Kang generate hype, or course correct.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
So, they made a desperate decision to course correct to Doom, and Robert Downey Jr. was used as the main way to build the hype big enough so that audiences would ignore that this made no sense based on the direction they were going. Now, I really want it to be clear, I'm not trying to bash Marvel or blindly hate this movie. I love Marvel, and I love the MCU. I have ever since 2008 when I saw the first Iron Man in theaters. I want these movies to be good, and the last 6 years have been rough to witness Marvel fail time and time again because they rush too many projects at once in an attempt to keep people on Disney+. They lose focus of story, character, and heart, mainly due to how much they're undertaking. And they tried to take on so many projects that they stretched the studio thin. And they lost focus of putting good story and a good heart in place of just content. They needed more and more, and they lost sight. And to top it all off, they lost the actor and character they were building up, and course corrected to the safest and easiest thing they could have. I wanted the Doomsday trailer to change my mind toward the film. I wanted it to build hype in me the same way that the old Avengers movies did. I wanted to feel the way I used to feel about Marvel, and be excited for this next phase. But it didn't. It made me worried that Marvel truly has lost what once made it incredible. But hey, at least Brand New Day looks great.
Ooh, the new Fantastic Four!
Don't forget the change.
Whoa, Dr. Doom is taking over the city!
Who's gonna stop me?
Hey!
Don't worry, kid.